Well, good morning. I'm really glad to be with all of you today, and I'm excited to share with you some lessons that I learned recently from mountain climbing, of all things. About 2 years ago, my husband and I, we went to Arizona on vacation, and we were having a great time. But there is a mountain there in the Phoenix area. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to go and see it. It's called Camelback Mountain because the shape of the mountain kind of looks like a camel laying down. And we decided that we would take that challenge on and climb that mountain. Probably like some of you when you started your businesses, or even as you are going about running your business, growing it, you reach those times where you feel like, oh, there's that mountain ahead that I know I have to tackle. And you kind of wonder, should we or shouldn't we? And we went through that whole experience when we were thinking about, should we go up this mountain? There's warning signs all over. If you have health problems, if you have all these things, don't climb the mountain. And so we kind of started in, we thought we could do it because we've climbed mountains before and hadn't had any real problems. So we were like, okay, we're gonna do this. We start up the path, and as you go up, the path becomes less of an actual path. It actually is more like a gap between boulders that you have to try to kind of find your way through. And so we were starting to get a little more anxious about that. And then there were people coming down the mountain, and some of them were saying, oh, once you get past this point, it gets easier. And so I'm like, okay, that's good. It makes me feel like we can do this. But then there were other people coming down the mountain who said, oh, you really shouldn't go further than this because it really gets steep. It's really hard after that point. Well, what do? We're partway up the mountain and we're getting all of these mixed messages about whether we should continue. Kind of like in business, right? Because a lot of times you don't know what's ahead. You don't know how things are going to turn out. You might have an idea for how to grow your business, but there's no crystal ball that I have ever found that tells us exactly how it's going to go. Well, we decided to keep going. And I have to say, when they said it was hard, they were not lying. It was one of the hardest climbs I've ever had, if not the hardest climb. And so we were working so hard, and it really took a while for us to get to the top. But we got to the top, and there's this gorgeous view looking out over Phoenix and the surrounding area. It was gorgeous, and we just loved staying up there for a while. We're taking in the scenery, and we're excited because we feel like we did it. We got there, we made it, and so we're catching our breath and getting a drink of water and that type of thing. And then it was time to come back down. And being a bit naive, I thought, okay, the hard part is over. We made it to the top. Now we just have to get down. You ever feel that way? Like, okay, from here things should be smooth sailing because you've gone through all that hard work to reach that goal that you've been working at. But the reality is we can't stand still. In our businesses, we have to keep moving because otherwise other people are going to pass us by. And so we had to take that next step. Well, we started down, and one of the things I quickly realized, that really steep climb going up and how hard that was equally steep coming back down that mountain. And so to make it, all of a sudden I felt this knot in my stomach as I realized one wrong step, I was going to end up someplace I didn't want to be, namely a hospital or something worse, because it was so steep. There were no guardrails. In business, a lot of times we end up in those situations where you kind of feel like, what am I going to do, right? Those things that make you go, oh, this could go so wrong, right? But the great thing is, I also realized I couldn't focus on the fear. I had to focus on just that next step. And so step by step, I climbed down that mountain and we made it to the bottom. I was exhausted by the time I got there because I won't tell you it wasn't difficult. But The great thing is when we in our businesses take that next step, when we break it down, the big goal might seem really overwhelming, but going step by step, you can make that progress. I did it. I've been in business now for 26 years. I know you can do it too. So my challenge to you is, what is that one next step you need to take to be successful?